Alright, so longevity, escape, velocity. It sounds like a Marvel movie, but it's basically a numbers game. If medicine can slow or repair aging faster than your body falls apart, your remaining life expectancy keeps stretching out in front of you. You don't have to be immortal, you just have to stay alive long enough for the next upgrade. Like always being one software patch ahead of the crash. Picture this near-future city. The rain's coming down in smeared neon. Every second billboard is shilling some cellular reboot or Senolytic spa weekend. You finish work on a Friday, duck into a clinic, and they hoover the zombie cells out of your bloodstream like you're getting a tire rotation. Monday morning, your joints feel 20 years younger, and your smartwatch cheerfully tells you your biological age just dropped by 3 years. Not bad for a long weekend. It starts small. Better blood panels, personalized supplements that actually work, gene therapies for the rich early adopters. Then the curves start to bend. Each year the treatments get a bit better, a bit cheaper, a bit safer. If that rate of progress outruns the rate at which your body wears down, you hit that so-called escape velocity. Every birthday, you're not just older, you're also medically upgradable into a slightly younger version of yourself. Death, my old friend, used to have a timetable. The sands ran down, the body folded, and we called it a good run if you made it past the grandkids. But then someone tweaked a pathway here, silenced a gene there, flushed out the cellular trash, and suddenly the clock stopped ticking quite so loudly. We didn't banish death. We just kept rescheduling the appointment. And here's the seduction. Once you realize you can buy another decade of healthy life, saying no starts to feel like a kind of slow suicide. It's not just, do I want to live? It becomes, do I want to let everyone else pass me by? Your mate gets the new treatment and looks 40 at 90. You stay natural and start to look like their tired uncle. Hard not to feel that pull. But there's a cost hiding under the trench coat. Every time you outrun one decay, you sign up for the next intervention, the next risk, the next bill. You don't just add years, you add obligations. A longer career, longer family dramas, more time to make mistakes that don't wash away with a neat little, well, life's short. And that's where the first taboo creeps in. We say, for life, like it's a solid unit. A marriage is for life. A prison sentence is for life. A mortgage feels like it. But if life stops having a clear, natural end, what exactly are we promising? Is for life 60 years? 200? Until the next breakthrough? Until we get bored? If you can keep rebooting your body, do commitments still mean the same thing? Or do they start to look more like software licenses? Renewable, revocable, always with sneaky fine print. We've built our morals, our laws, even our love stories around the idea that the curtain will eventually fall. If the curtain just keeps getting yanked back up, encore after encore, what kind of life are we actually signing up for? Let's talk about a really awkward asymmetry. Fertility. Even if we get brilliantly good at slowing aging in general, biology's got some hard-coded cliffs. For women, menopause is one of them. Ovaries have a finite reserve. At some point, the system winds down. You can maybe nudge that timeline, maybe freeze eggs, maybe one day grow gametes from stem cells, but right now, there's a clear drop-off. Men, on the other hand, can stay fertile much later. The quality drops, the risks climb, but in principle, you can be an old bloke and still father kids. So imagine that, in a world where people don't just live to 90, but 300, 400, 500 years, with periodic longevity upgrades. The male fertility tail, even if diminished, stretches a lot further into that future. Run a quick thought experiment. There's a guy we'll call Elias. He's born in 2080, hits 60, gets his first serious anti-aging suite. At 90, he looks and feels 40, marries, has kids. By 140, with another 2 rounds of longevity tech, he's biologically more like 50. His first partner, if she started with the same biology and didn't get reproductive super tech, may have hit menopause long ago, even if she looks and feels great otherwise. Elias, though? Still capable of fathering children. So at 160, in a new city, he starts another family. Different culture, different laws, younger partner. His first kids are now old enough to be grandparents themselves. He's playing backyard cricket with toddlers who are younger than his great-great-grandchildren. Fast forward again. 4 or 5 centuries in, with regular tune-ups, he's got overlapping family trees smeared across continents. Some of his descendants only know him as a rumor, the Immortal Patriarch, who sometimes appears at weddings, looking about 40. Others know him as Dad, right now, in the kitchen, making pancakes. On paper, that's just math. A long reproductive window plus a long lifespan equals a dense web of descendants. But inside that math sit some uncomfortable questions. If you can always start over somewhere else, what does commitment to your existing kids actually mean? Is leaving just a bit easier when you know you've got centuries ahead to try again? Consent and power get messy too. A man with centuries of life experience and the bank account to match, how equal is that relationship with a partner in their first 40 years of life? Even if everyone is technically an adult, the gap in knowledge, connections, ability to disappear and reinvent, that changes the dynamic. You'll get over it takes on a different shade when you literally have 300 years to get over it. And parenting itself, if you know you'll likely outlive all your kids, and maybe their kids, by a massive margin, what does being a good parent mean? Is it enough to fund the trust account, show up every so often, be this mythic figure who dips in and out? Or do we think that if you choose to have a child in year 350 of your life, you owe them the same hands-on presence you gave the kids from year 50? We already struggle with broken families in an 80-year world. Stretch that canvas to 500 years, keep the male fertility tap trickling the whole way, and the arithmetic of forever starts to look less like wonder and more like a moral hazard. All right, let's zoom out from biology and talk about the squishier bit, the mind. If your body can keep going for centuries, your emotions don't get an automatic firmware update. You still grieve, you still burn out, you still make promises you can't quite keep. Imagine grief over a 300-year life. The first 50 years, each loss hits like a freight train. Parents, friends, maybe a partner. But somewhere after the 10th funeral, the 20th, the 50th, you start to get grief fatigue. You've buried so many versions of your social world that mourning could fill whole centuries if you let it. So maybe you harden up. You learn to love with a safety margin. Keep people at arm's length, because odds are you'll outlast them, or they'll drift off into some other century's fashion, some other orbital habitat, whatever the setting is. The cost of deep attachment, multiplied across hundreds of years, might just be too high for some people to pay. Then there's serial reinvention. Over a normal life, you might get, 3 or 4 big chapters? Student, worker, parent, retiree. In a 400-year run, you could have dozens. New names, new careers, new countries, new loves. Sounds exciting. But at what point do your earlier selves feel like strangers you vaguely remember from a trip you once took? Promises start to wobble. Till death do us part was always anchored to the idea that death was roughly on the schedule. In a longevity-boosted world, that phrase bends. Does it mean till your first century review? Till one of us opts out of treatment? Or do couples switch to till mutual consent do us part, acknowledging that a bond built for 60 years might not survive 260 without breaking both people? Layer on top the ethics. Who actually gets these extra tomorrows? If early longevity tech is expensive, as cutting-edge medicine usually is, then escape velocity becomes a class privilege. The wealthy string together upgrade after upgrade. The poor age at the old pace. Overpopulation worries might not hit evenly either. Maybe some regions clamp down on births, while others quietly encourage a short life, cheap labor cycle because their citizens can't afford the expensive long one. Inequality stops being just about income and starts being about time. Imagine negotiating with someone in a contract dispute when they have a 200-year planning horizon and you've got 40. That's not just unfair, it's a different species of leverage. So we end up with this moody little paradox. The science of longevity is, in principle, about compassion, about reducing suffering, extending healthy years. But stretched too far, with the same old power structures and the same messy hearts, it could hollow things out. Your days get longer, but your promises thinner. Your memory vault overflows until the old loves and old mistakes blur into statistical noise. Maybe the real question isn't how long can we live, but how long can love, memory, and responsibility stay taut without snapping? At what point does a commitment, or a story, or a self quietly expire even while the body marches on? We might well solve aging. Whether we can solve what it means to stay human across that many tomorrows, that's a whole other episode.